So today what we're going to be doing is building a King Cobra cage. I'm getting a new Chinese Banded King Cobra, so I want to make a really cool cage for it. So myself, my name is Bjorn, and Darnell, we are going to be building the cage here quickly. So we're using shutterboard as the main structure of the enclosure, but with our finished product I want to do something a little bit different, where we're actually making it look like rock and everything inside. So this is really a first attempt with the rock side of things. I've only done a bit of work with cement and other stuff, so it is going to be a little bit experimental, but what I have pictured in my mind should come out pretty well. You can see we've got the door for the access panel area, and we're going to obviously make it waterproof base to hold a bioactive substrate, and yeah, we'll see how it all comes together. Alright, so we just finished the construction of the cage. As you can see, we've just got this strip over here. It looks a bit tacky and everything, but we're going to be covering all of this with rock wool, so it really doesn't matter what that looks like. We just obviously want to have that strip to hold everything together, and we don't want the outside looking tacky like that. So outside looks quite nice because that's going to be facing some people might see it and what have you. Okay, so the next thing I want to do now is actually to waterproof the base. So here we've just got fiberglass mat. Okay, and we're going to actually use a laminating resin to actually fit all of this in. Obviously you want to come up the sides, and the reason we're doing this, we want it waterproof. This is the best system to waterproof. Okay, and sometimes what I have done is just do the corners, because you don't want any movement, it's going to crack. So that's why we're using the fiberglass mat. We're going to double up or triple up the layer in the where all the gaps are. So that makes it really strong and rigid. It won't crack, so it'll never get a leak. And then once it's laminated, this is quite a special laminate resin. You get so many different types, but this one stays tacky, like super sticky. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put pool coat on top of that. So pool coat is what you use as the final product in your pool to make it waterproof. It's got like a hydrophobic wax, so that water does not get through it at all. Okay, it's really amazing stuff. I've been using it for a good couple of years now. I'm so stoked with it. So yeah, then that'll finalize the bottom product. You can see this is coming up quite high. All the soil is going to be here, and then obviously the rock is going to go further down. So it doesn't matter if we go a bit high with this. This also becomes see-through once it's actually wet and worked in. So here we've got our resin, which is all ready to rock and roll. Well, almost ready. Okay, just going to use that for stirring. Okay, you can see it's quite a bluish color, but it goes clear. And then here's our catalyst, which is our hardener. So normally you want to use a sort of 2% mixture. I don't know how many liters this little bucky is, so we might be working a little bit against time. But yeah, if you get the measurements wrong, you can have the stuff gel on you super fast, which we really do not want. So I don't know, I've worked with the stuff so much, I can normally just tell by sight and how much we're going. Okay, if it goes a bit quicker, that's fine, but you obviously don't want it to gel on you at all. Okay, so then we're going to mix that in. A lot of the time when you're mixing it in, you'll notice it's getting a color change. With a pool coat, it gives quite a good color change. This stuff I only worked with once before. Can't remember exactly how good the color change will be, if any. And the thing is, if I get this mix a little bit too weak, it's just going to take a lot longer for this to go hard. So obviously I want this to sort of go hard pretty quickly. I don't want to spend too much time in between doing this, but there's other things that can be done on the property, so we'll see how it goes. Yeah, so I always just want to work that in very well. And normally what you can also do is when you paint the layers first, wet the mat, then put the mat in. We're taking the lazy option here today, and we're just going to work out all the air bubbles and everything. But I've done it like this a couple times and it works just fine. It's just the lazy man's way of doing it, but the end result I find is just about the same. Alright. Okay, so you can actually see it is much darker now. It's not as light blue. So it is starting to change. Okay, so as I say, about a 2% mixture is what's sort of recommended. It can play a very big part on the temperature of the day and so on. Okay, so as we work this stuff, you want to wet it and just sort of work it in like that. This is going to absorb into the wood as well. It's really going to bond things really nicely. Okay, so working it into the corners like that. And when you see it's all wet like that and you can see the wood, there's no air bubbles, then you know it's good to go. Alright, so we're going to just finish off this cage with all the resin, and then we'll come back to the video and see where we're at. Alright, so we've just finished pool coating and fiberglassing the base. It's all nice and waterproof. We've put the bottom framework for the glass over here because we screwed it in from this side, and we want to actually make sure that everything's waterproof, so that we waterproofed over the screws as well, and that's going to make everything nice and sealed off, holding the glass. So the next thing we want to do is actually sort of build a structure as to what we want to have like the rock wall and stuff looking like. So we're going to quickly jump on that. We've cut a few pieces to size. We just need to fit it mounted in place, and then the next job should be doing all the foam work. Cool. Right. Okay, so we just finished with the structure of everything. I want a sort of rock look ramp going up here to different levels. We're going to fit under heating here, so we want to cover that so you don't see anything like that. And then we've got a nice top shelf here as well. So we've given this a nice thick area as well where we can lay that foam. We obviously don't have a machine for spraying the foam. You get really fancy machines that you can actually spray the foam in a nice layer. We are totally working off the books here and hoping that it's not going to be a totally messy disaster. But in the end of the day, it's going to look alright. It just might be quite wasteful compared to using a machine like that. With this ramp here, we've got these grooves because we're obviously going to lie it on its back. We're going to pour the expanding foam in this groove so that it'll actually come and swell out, giving us some nice structure to work with. We might have some areas which end up a little bit bald. We're just going to go and touch those areas up. So it doesn't matter what it looks like at the end of the day, just as long as we don't get foam all the way out to here. That would not be very good. So we want to use as little foam as we can, but have enough body. It's going to work as a nice insulation factor for the enclosure and giving it that 3D body effect. That's why obviously we're doing the shelves. You know, it creates a little more than just a bottom layer where the snake can move around. Yes, you can put some branches, but with these nice shelves, it's also going to help a lot. I mean, with the snake, we put heating under here, the snake can get warm here, and on top of the shelf, it can also get warm from the heat rising. Alright, cool. So we're ready to start the foaming. Okay, so we finished with the foam now. It's the next day. It's all set. I mean, it does set actually quite rapidly. So there are the odd spaces where you can see raw wood. Those areas are not going to really get wet very much, and once we put a paint over it, it's also going to, you know, seal the wood and everything. But what we're going to do is we're going to add a little more structure, like these two pots over here. They don't have enough foam around them, so I've got a spray can. I'm just going to fill out the area, maybe put a bit of a join into the two to make it look like a sort of another rock shelf piece where we're going to put plants in there. The roof we're going to put a primer on, and then I'm going to paint it sky blue with some clouds. I don't know, we'll see how that goes. There's a bit of mess over there that we can just scrape off easily, and then you can see all the running dripping marks. That's all can be shaped to make it look more like rock and everything with the painting as well. So we've got quite a bit of a body to work with, but I want to add a little bit of more of a lip just on here. But we can only really do that best when we put it up horizontally, standing like it should. Then I can make a nice fat foam lip, and then I'll actually waterproof the inside there so we can actually have moist substrate or something there. that's nice and protecting the wood and everything. So yeah, and then maybe just add a little more structure around this one. So I've got a couple cans of expanding foam, and I'm just going to add to it. You can see over here the door. Okay, the door is very, very flat, not much structure to it at all. We don't want to go too crazy with it. We just want to sort of disguise maybe the framework, but with that we can add you know, a little piece of vine that's sort of growing up the crevices, and then the way we're going to make the rocks look and things like that, we can sort of disguise it a little bit. And again, with the spray foam, I can maybe add a little bit here and there to make it so it's not looking so much like a square door hole. Okay, and then you guys might be thinking, where is the ventilation going to go? Still, you know, obviously I want to make maybe a top basking area there where some ventilation can go out, and I was thinking the lower door here, but I might go with an extractor fan pulling the air through and things like that. So we'll see at the end of the day how we work that one out. Cool, so back to some more foaming. Alright, so we finished the last of the foaming. You can see we sort of bridged it a bit together here. So we're going to do a lot of sculpting and things like that now. But what I was thinking, some of the areas where I foamed and then I've put more over here as well, it kind of looks like roots growing down, because we're going to have plants in over here. So these actually look like roots that's sort of working its way, growing through the rock. So it's going to need a lot of sculpting and shaping and everything. And then we added a little bit of a foam lip on here so that we can actually hold some substrate, get it from falling off. Still got to clean all the surface of the wood here, and then waterproof all of this and this one as well, so that it can hold water and everything. But I mean, it's really, really nice and stable. Now it's all foamed together, and once all the shaping and everything is done, we give it a bit of paint work, it'll look a lot better. And you can see the roof is a bit blue. We've actually done just a layer of paint there. We're going to make it look like a sky. So we've got to work from the roof down when it comes to the painting. Cool. Alright, so I've just given the foam a bit of a styling look. I want to go for a slate look, as if this is a slate rock sticking out of mud and everything. So I've shaped it a little bit using various tools, kind of learning as I go along here. I used a little hacksaw, I've got a file, a bit of sandpaper for smoothing off certain parts, scrapers like this. I recently bought a Dremel, which is really nice to get into the small areas and actually work it up and down to give a weathering look. But I think the handiest tool I've found is actually a wire brush. So once you've got it at this state, to actually go crazy over it with a wire brush, it really does give it a real more natural look, so it's more weathered, you know, because at the moment this looks just sort of handmade, sort of cut and what have you. So I've used it in other areas, I've used it up here a little bit. It really does give it quite a cool stone look, and once we add all the colors, it's really going to pop nicely. So I'll just show you guys a little bit of how this works here. Obviously scraping back and forth, it's going to find the easier way. There's sort of gaps between here, so it starts giving it a nice look, and it finishes off with a very square look of the cuts. But yeah, very, very handy in this process. And then also just sort of hitting it can make little holes and crevices, and then when you go over with the brush, it like really pulls those little holes out as well. Gives it a really cool look. So I'll just show you guys quickly this up nice and close. I'm going to have to change the lens because it's going to get very dusty. I want to actually film from a bit further away. I don't want to ruin the camera with all this dust. It's like really quite a pain in that sense. But just have a look at it now and then after again. Okay, so I've done a little bit of work on it, and then you can see like over here, once that's all colored like rock, it's going to look really cool. It's really going to pop. I've still got to do some edges and stuff of these, but it's really coming along nicely. Alright, so let's have a go at that. Okay, so here we go. Okay. Alright, so just to show you how it's sort of changed it a little bit. Okay, it does give it a little more of a natural look. Some areas it's gone through a little bit, but that's not the end of the world once we've painted and covered it all up. But still got quite a bit of work to do in these areas, but I mean, we don't want to make too long of a video. Okay, so it just gives you a bit of an idea as to how it goes. So you see it's got a much rougher textured look now. Okay, so now we've done all this shaping and stuff, we're ready for painting. I've just painted the roof blue. We're going to make it look like there is clouds and stuff. It's still busy drying and it's a bit patchy looking. And then always I want to work from the top down, because obviously you're going to spill blue, so you don't want to do the roof last and you're going to end up with all these marks everywhere. So the next step I'm thinking, as I say, I'm no professional at this, is I want to start giving some depth to the cage using paint as well. So we've got obviously the structure, but now we want to get more depth and things into the rock. And again, we've got to think, okay, what are we painting first? What are we going to be painting last? The last thing I'm thinking about doing is painting all the mud, the mud background that's going to be sitting on those and around the rocks. So with the rocks now, obviously you want to paint inside these crevices, which is very hard to get in with a brush or anything. So what we got here is just some black paint, and we've mixed some water with it, and we're just going to spray it on all the rocks if it comes out. There we go. So I want to just spray it in all the crevices and all over the rocks, and that's going to give it a bit of depth. Doesn't matter if it runs down, dribbles everywhere. Let me just see if we can get it. There we go. Okay, so we're just going to spray it in. It's very light, as you can see, but we're going to go over it a few times. And this is just going to help to stain, give that rock a sort of color. So this is going to absorb in a little bit, and we'll go with a brush as well, but this is just obviously to cover the areas where it's going to be very difficult to get in with a brush. You see the smooth parts comes off quite nicely. So this is obviously going to get into all the deep crevices, give it a bit more of a nice look. And as I say, we might have to do this a few times just so that, you know, it gives a nice coating over. Obviously adding water is going to thin it out, but that's the best way to spray it. This is just a normal PVA house paint. Spray it quite nice and heavy in these areas, but I think we're going to go over it with plain black and a brush where we can get in the big ones. Obviously the little areas we're going to struggle to get in there, so we're going to have to finish that off with just spraying it. Maybe I can add some more paint as well. I'll try that next time. Obviously I just don't want this little nozzle getting all blocked up, so that's why I went with a bit of a thin solution at the moment. And it doesn't matter if it all dribbles all over here, everything there is waterproofed. And if it's stained with paint, it doesn't matter, because we're going to cover it all with dirt. So okay, so I think I'm definitely going to go over this with a brush and try and work it in there. I mean, if I could go over it with a wire brush, pretty sure I can work it in with a normal brush quite nicely. but you can just see what it does. Immediately it starts to actually pop a lot more. Okay. So the rock's going to give a nice black grey look. Obviously the lighter areas we can dry brush, which we'll get to later, but this is just going to give a little bit of a feel for what it's going to look like. Okay, I think we're running out of juice here now. It'd be good if it was also a really nice hot day, at winter setting in now, because then this would also dry a lot faster. Okay, now a lot of you guys might be wondering, like, why we're not using sort of cement. I've obviously given all the detail to this stuff now. A lot of people use like a tile cement or something over that. I've done that before. It cracks, it falls off, it looks horrible in the end. Unless you're going really, really thick with wire mesh, then you may as well just make a cement cage anyway. But this cage we obviously need to move around and things. So you can see this expanding foam here. It is extremely hard, so we can paint just directly on it. The stuff that comes from the spray can is a little bit softer, but I mean that's going to be the root, so it's not a problem. Main structure, very hard. There's going to be all the rock and everything like that. Okay. And then also, once you've finished using this bottle with its paint, you must also just empty it out, because otherwise it's going to dry in the nozzle. You want to spray fresh water through it quite a lot to clean it out. If you want to use another color, but sometimes it's best to have different colors for different bottles, so then that way you can also switch between them. You know, you want colors to run together, a bit of black and white, and then they actually mix and run along together quite nicely. You can give it a different look. It actually looks kind of blue. So we'll definitely go darker with it next time. I've still got to complete this and this over here, but if we just take a few steps back, yeah, it does look quite blue actually. Okay, but I mean obviously as we go we coat it a little more, we'll get the look. So this is obviously the first initial coating. It's only going to get better from here, I'm sure. Alright, so I've just finished the black paint. I went through a whole liter just doing the rocks here, and I missed the one little rock over here. So I need to get more black paint anyway. We'll sort that another time. But just to show you how it's all looking. Okay, so you can see there's quite a lot of really cool detail on it. Obviously all the black that's gone over, I'm going to paint this as a root that's coming through the rock and showing a little bit there, so that'll all get painted accordingly. Now we are using PVA water-based paint, which is totally fine and safe as long as it's nice and dry and there's not heavy fumes in here. It's not going to be a problem at all. Okay, it's not like a waterproof rock back wall or anything like that. It's very water resistant, but I'm not having water like flowing down here or anything, because it'll just take the paint off over time where it's running, you know. So doing something like that would use more like concrete and resins and stuff like that. Okay, so then also we are going to dry brush the rocks, which is going to make everything pop out a lot more. I'm going to give the rocks, we're going to be actually sort of like a dark grey. The black is only going to stay in the deep areas that the dry brushing can't cover. And we're going to start with the coat on the main areas, which is all going to be just dirt, like looking like nice coarse sand, dirt of this hill or whatever. And yeah, then it's just painting that, painting the roots, installing heating and lighting and fans for ventilation. And then we're there. Now the first spray I did was extremely light. It was just I was worried that too much paint does block the end, but eventually I actually put a half-half, and that's how we got this nice dark color. Also went over with a brush, painted it nice and thick, and then just the last little bit in a spray bottle to fill all the little gaps. There's an odd white little spot showing here and there. I'll sort those once I got the other paint. Alright, so now we're going to do the painting of the earth section, which is the majority of the cage. So what I've got is just some nice brown paint. I'm just going to add some fairly coarse sand to it, which is going to help it give it that nice look. You also get paint with silica sand in it already, but I mean, I've done this before, it works like a charm. I'm just going to mix it all in there. It does get quite messy, but I mean, it is going to be like mud earth, so it's all good. Okay, you can also, I've even done a cement mix before with like just a bit of cement and this paint, and that works quite well. Okay, and obviously with this all being sort of uneven and blotchy and these little holes, it looks like stones have fallen out of those areas and everything, so let's go for it. Okay, we obviously want to be careful working near the top because that's where the sky, our sort of sky look is. We don't want to go over that, so we would work that with a much finer brush. Okay, now I see these little holes do show up, so I'll have to get in there with a little smaller brush. Okay, but again here, because you see there's uneven areas, we can go over this with a dry brush as well, because this is a darker brown and then I've also got a lighter brown. So I'm going to just play around, and then also you get, sometimes you get clay that has got you know, sort of orange and white and stuff like that. So I have got orange, and I can add that in a spray bottle and actually kind of spray it on and damp it with a sponge, play around like that to get the desired effect I'm looking for. But yeah, so we just want to keep going, adding this on here. This is the same thing I did with getting the black into the small spaces, just dabbing it like this works nice to get it worked into those areas. Okay, you can even use your hand if you don't want a brush looked to it. Okay. Alright, so it's pretty much going to be the same thing going on here for quite a while, so we're going to stop the video here, this video, and then we'll get back to what it looks like once I've run out of paint, because I think I'm going to need some more of this one as well. But just a look at the rest of the cage, how all it looks. Alright, and then I'm going to get nice and dirty again. Alright, so to say that I've been spending a few hours on painting will be an understatement. This actually turned out to be a massive project in the end. I've been spending hours, absolute hours on it. Trying to get paint in all the little nooks and crannies is actually quite difficult. So I've got all the sort of base color down at the moment. I've got the color of the roots and stuff, also sort of base color. I might fiddle with them a bit more, but I spent quite a lot of time on that. And then as you can see just by the roof here, I painted out a little bit rather than having it so square, more give it like a feel of the cliff and some overhang and what have you. Could maybe add detail to it later, but I mean, I'm not the most artistic person ever. So what I'm going to do now is just give a bit of dry brushing on here. So I've gone with I want to get like a sort of dark slate look. So I've got a nice very dark, I just took black paint, added a little bit of white just to get a really dark grey. As the paint dries, it's going to be lighter than what it looks like as well. But we just want a dry brush which is going to give it that real pronunciation of its features and everything. So all the deep areas are going to stay dark black, so we won't get to it with the brush, and then just the outer edges are going to go lighter grey, which is going to give it that look as if it's weathered over time naturally. Okay, so that's the sort of look we're trying to get. So what we do, just start with like a board, piece of cardboard, anything really. Just get some paint on the brush. Okay, now that's obviously very wet, so you want to just keep working it and working it until almost totally dry. Okay, rather have it very dry than too wet, because too wet's going to give you too much detail. And then you actually just gently brush it on. I don't know if you guys are seeing too much coming from this, but I can actually see it going on quite nicely. And it's going to really make it pop really nice. Okay, so we just work through the lighter stuff. And that just gives it that real natural sort of weathered look. Yeah, it's, up close it really makes it quite a difference. You can see it nicely, but as I say, I don't know how good the lighting is going here. So with the wind blowing quite a lot today, it dries extremely quickly. But that's really giving it quite a realistic look. Okay, so I'm just going to bring the camera a bit closer, see if we can see those details. Okay, that's sort of compared to that shiny glossy look. It doesn't look quite natural unless it's sort of fresh lava rock, whereas there you can see it's nice and dull. It's taking that shine off. Lighter greys, and it really actually pops quite a lot. Yeah, it's looking really cool. So I'm going to just do all the slate quickly, and yeah, this at least shouldn't take too long. Okay, so I finally finished the cage. The most difficult part was painting. It actually took really long to get all of this done. So you can see our rocks, and these are roots growing through. Sort of struggling with the color of the roots a little bit. I might touch it up a little bit later. We've got some real plants up top here in pots, and they can actually drain out perfectly and everything. So I painted the roof sky blue with some clouds. I think it came out pretty cool if anyone's looking up at the roof. And we've got some fake plants in here as well, just to add a little bit of decor with a Buddha. You can see the infrared light at the back there with a cage over it to protect the snake from any burns or anything like that. And it is on a dimmer stat, so it controls the temperature just right. Now I'll put that piece of cork bark in, and if the snake wants a nice safe refuge to hide in, and it's got that nice tight little cork hide to climb into. Okay, there's another plant over there, also drainage area, and you can see how the rock slate came out. I'm quite happy with the look of the slate rock. And then the back is just like a muddy backdrop. Okay, I just sort of painted to break up the squareness of the cage. I just painted a sort of muddy, earthy sort of look to sort of blend it in a bit. And here we got a massive panel of safety glass. Now the soil here is a mixture of very fine peat. So that's pretty much what your peat looks like. It's potting soil, vermiculite, and fine bark. This all keeps the soil nice and light and fluffy. So it's good for bioactivity. We can add some earthworms and pill bugs and springtails and whatever else we want to. And then might just add some leaf litter. But I'm sort of looking for bamboo leaves, which is not that easy to find. But yeah, so very happy with the end product. We're about to put the snake in, and then we'll film a little bit from the front to see how he's doing and exploring. Okay, so we've got our snake in our bag over here. Just need to clip these cable ties quickly. Oh, I can hear the noises it's making already. Okay, I just want to be very careful around the bag because the snake can bite through the bag. Okay, now we have to see what kind of attitude he's in. Okay, so I'm just pinching this piece of material so I know that there's no head there and I can grab there. Then I'm just going to put it around this hook. I just want to be as gentle as I can with this snake, just let him out. Whoopsie, whoopsie, upside down. There he goes. I can always handle him another time, but I just want him to feel safe and that. I don't want him to move too quickly and bash himself into anything. As you can see, he's a bit wary and stuff. Okay, so we're just going to let him settle in here. This is a Chinese Banded King Cobra, and this is a male. I've apparently got one of the only females in South Africa, so this will be the mate to pair up with her. Hey buddy. Okay, now he wants to come out at me. Come on. Oh, great. Just when I say I don't want to handle him much, and then he goes and starts coming out towards me. So we're just going to close up here and leave him alone now. Cool. Okay, so here's the finished product from the front. This display is at Le Bonnier Reptiles and Adventure. You can see he's chilling out here in the plants. Oh, he's just having a yawn. Oh, there we go. I think he's found his hidey spot for the day. So yeah, very stoked with this build. Came out really nicely.